After driving 9 hours through a blizzard to surprise my husband with a birthday cake, I heard him tell his sister, if she crashed, the insurance would fix everything. She replied, or give us some peace. They laughed. I left the cake and vanished. 3 weeks later, he begged me to return, but I was gone, building a new life. His words echoed as I planned. Now he regrets everything, but I'm free. So I'm sitting here with my Dunkin' coffee, looking out at the snow-covered mountains from my new apartment, and I just gotta share this wild story with y'all. 3 months ago, my whole world flipped upside down because of one birthday cake and a blizzard that nearly killed me. My husband turned 35 on February 14th. Yeah, Valentine's Day, baby, which should have been romantic, but honestly just meant double the pressure to make everything perfect. We'd been married for 8 years, and I'd always gone all out for his birthdays. This year, I wanted to surprise him with his favorite chocolate cake from this bakery back in my hometown, the same place where we had our first date. The thing is, my hometown's about 4.5 hours away on a good day. But February in upstate New York, that's a whole different beast. The weather forecast was calling for light snow, maybe an inch or two. Nothing my Honda Accord couldn't handle, right? Wrong. I left at 6 a.m., thinking I'd grab the cake, maybe, visit my mom for an hour, and be back by 3 to surprise him when he got home from work. Had the whole day planned out, his favorite dinner, candles, the works. I even bought this cute little card that said another year hotter, because he always joked about getting old. The drive started out fine. Light flurries, nothing major. I cranked up my Spotify playlist, grabbed a Red Bull from the gas station, and hit the road feeling pretty good about myself. About 2 hours in, though, the snow started coming down harder, like visibility getting sketchy, harder. By the time I reached my hometown, it was a full-blown blizzard, the kind where you can barely see the car in front of you, and the wind's whipping snow around like some kind of winter tornado. My mom took one look at me walking through her door and was like, honey, you're not driving back in this. But I had that cake. This beautiful, perfect chocolate cake with happy birthday, written in his favorite blue frosting. And I'd already committed to this surprise, so I stayed for maybe 30 minutes, helped her move some stuff to her basement, in case the power went out and hit the road again. The drive back was honestly terrifying. I'm talking white knuckle, death grip on the steering wheel, praying to every deity I could think of kind of driving. My Honda was sliding all over the place, even with the snow tires I'd put on in December. The cake was in the back seat, and I kept checking my rearview mirror to make sure it hadn't slid off the seat. What should have been a 4.5-hour drive turned into 9 hours of pure hell. I had to pull over 3 times because I literally couldn't see the road. My phone was blowing up with weather alerts, and at one point I seriously considered just pulling into a hotel and calling it quits. But I kept thinking about his face when he'd see that cake. I finally rolled into our driveway at around 11 p.m., exhausted but proud of myself for making it home safe. The cake had survived, I'd survived, and I was ready to surprise my husband with this grand romantic gesture. Our house sits back from the road a bit, with a long driveway that curves around some trees. As I was getting out of the car, I could see the living room lights were on and I heard voices. Figured maybe he had a friend over or something, which was fine. I grabbed the cake and my purse, and that's when I realized I'd left my keys inside the house that morning. So I walked around to the side door, which leads into our kitchen. We always keep it unlocked because we live in a pretty safe neighborhood. The voices were coming from the living room and I could hear my husband talking to someone. As I got closer, I realized it was his sister Karen on speakerphone. Now, Karen and I have never been close. She's one of those people who thinks her brother can do no wrong and that I somehow trapped him into marriage. But we've always been civil, you know? Holiday dinners, birthday parties, the usual family stuff. I was about to walk into the living room and announce my arrival when I heard my name, and not in a good way. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support so far. I know some of you are wondering if I actually heard what I think I heard. And trust me, I've replayed this moment 1,000 times in my head. The next part gets pretty intense, so buckle up. Anyone else ever had one of those moments where you realize everything you thought you knew was a lie? I swear if she doesn't stop with these over-the-top gestures, I'm gonna lose it, my husband was saying. 9 hours in a blizzard for a freaking cake? She's probably dead in a ditch somewhere, and honestly, Karen, I'm not even sure I'd be that upset about it. I froze. Like, literally could not move. The cake box was still in my hands, and I'm pretty sure my jaw hit the floor. Karen laughed. Actually laughed. Oh my god, don't say that. Though if she did crash, that life insurance policy would fix all your problems, wouldn't it? Right? $200,000 would pay off the mortgage, the credit cards, everything. I could actually start over, maybe move closer to you guys in Florida, get away from all this snow and her constant need to be the perfect wife. Or at least we'd finally get some peace at family gatherings, Karen added. No more of her trying so hard to fit in with stories nobody asked for. They both laughed at that. Actually laughed about me potentially being dead on the side of the, road. I stood there in my kitchen, holding this stupid cake, snow melting off my boots onto the floor, listening to my husband and his sister discuss how much better their lives would be if I'd died driving through a blizzard to surprise him for his birthday to 8 years of marriage. 8 years of putting his needs first, of making his favorite meals, of supporting his dreams, of being there through job losses and family drama and everything else life threw at us. And this is what he really thought of me. The worst part? I could hear the relief in his voice, like he'd been holding these feelings in for years and finally had someone to share them with. I quietly set the cake down on the kitchen counter, grabbed my purse, and walked right back out to my car. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get the key in the ignition, but somehow I managed to start the engine and back out of our driveway. I drove to a nearby Walmart parking lot and just sat there for about an hour, letting everything sink in. The snow was still coming down, and I watched it pile up on my windshield while I tried to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. My phone started buzzing around midnight. Text after text from him. Where are you? Your car's not here. Did you go to your mom's? The weather's getting bad. Just stay put if you're not home yet. I turned my phone off. I spent that night in a motel about 20 minutes from our house. The kind of place that charges by the hour and has questionable stains on the carpet. But it was warm, and nobody asked questions when I paid cash. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to my mom's house. Told her I needed to stay for a few days, that my husband and I were having some problems. She didn't ask too many questions, just made up the guest room and started making my favorite soup. For 3 days, I didn't answer his calls or texts. I needed time to think, to process what I'd heard, to figure out if there was any way to interpret his words as something other than what they obviously were. Spoiler alert, there wasn't. On the 4th day, I drove back to our house while he was at work. I packed 2 suitcases with my essential stuff: clothes, important documents, family photos, my grandmother's jewelry. I left everything else. The furniture we'd picked out together, the dishes from our wedding registry, even the coffee maker I'd bought him for Christmas. But I did take that cake out of the fridge and put it on the kitchen table with a note. Happy birthday. Hope you get everything you wished for. Then I drove to the bank and emptied our joint savings account. It was mostly my money anyway. I'd been putting in 60% of our household income for the past 3 years while he figured out his career path. I found a furnished apartment about 2 hours away, in a town where neither of us had any connections. Told my mom I was taking some time to figure things out. Started job hunting online, updated my resume, the whole deal. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. It was him, and he sounded panicked. Where are you? Your mom won't tell me anything, your work says you quit, and your sister hung up on me. I found the cake and the note, and I don't understand what's happening. I almost hung up. Almost. But 8 years of muscle memory made me answer. I heard you, I said simply. February 14th, around 11 p.m. You and Karen having a good laugh about how much better your life would be if I died in that blizzard. Silence. Complete silence for about 30 seconds. I can explain, he finally said. It wasn't what it sounded like. We were just venting. You know how it is with siblings. Karen was having problems with her husband, and we were both just talking crazy. I didn't mean any of it. You laughed, I said. You both laughed about the insurance money. It was just dark humor, babe. You know how I get when I'm stressed. Work's been crazy, and with the mortgage and everything, I was just talking nonsense. I love you. You know I love you. But here's the thing about hearing someone wish you were dead. You can't unhear it. It changes something fundamental in how you see that person, how you see yourself, how you see your entire relationship. I drove 9 hours through a blizzard to bring you a birthday cake, I told him. I risked my life because I wanted to make you happy, and you told your sister you wouldn't be upset if I died doing it. I was wrong, he said, and I could hear him crying now. I was so wrong, and I'm sorry. Please come home. We can work this out. I'll do anything. Update. The messages and support from everyone have been incredible. Some of you are asking if I gave him another chance, and I get it. 8 years is a long time to throw away. But here's what I learned about myself during those 3 weeks alone. I'd been trying so hard to be the perfect wife that I'd forgotten who I was before him. The next part of this story is about me finally remembering. Has anyone else ever had that moment where you realize you've been living someone else's life? That's when I knew there was no going back. Not because I didn't love him, I probably always would in some twisted way, but because I finally understood that love isn't supposed to make you smaller. It's supposed to make you bigger, braver, more yourself. I'm not coming home, I told him. I'm building a new life. And I hung up. He called 17 more times that day, sent 43 text messages, showed up at my mom's house twice, but she'd already moved to Florida to be closer to my aunt. He had no idea where I was, and I intended to keep it that way. The divorce papers were filed 2 months later. I hired a lawyer in my new town, someone who specialized in cases where there were assets to divide but no kids involved. Turns out, when you've been putting 60% of the household income into joint accounts for 3 years, you're entitled to a pretty decent settlement. He fought it at first. Claimed I was being vindictive, that I was overreacting to a private conversation that was never meant to hurt me. His lawyer tried to argue that I'd abandoned the marriage, but my lawyer was smarter. We had phone records showing his calls, text, messages with timestamps, and the bank records proving I'd been the primary breadwinner. The whole process took about 6 months. 6 months of him alternating between begging me to come back and getting angry about the financial settlement. Karen even reached out once, trying to explain that they'd just been blowing off steam and that I was ruining her brother's life by being overly sensitive. I blocked her number after she left a voicemail saying I was destroying a good man over a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, I was actually thriving. The job I'd found was better than my old one. Better pay, better benefits, and colleagues who appreciated my work ethic instead of taking it for granted. I joined a hiking group, took up photography, started reading books again instead of just watching whatever he wanted on Netflix. For the first time in years, I felt like myself. My apartment was small, but it was mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. Bright colors, plants everywhere, artwork that made me smile instead of the beige and brown color scheme he'd insisted on because it was more sophisticated. I adopted a cat from the local shelter. A little orange tabby who'd been returned twice because he was too energetic. Perfect for me because I'd apparently been too energetic for my old life, too. The final divorce decree came through on a Tuesday in September. I was officially free, with a settlement that would let me put a down payment on a house if I wanted to, or travel, or pretty much anything else I could dream up. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. I heard about the divorce. I hope you're happy now. You've destroyed everything we built together over something I said in private when I was stressed. I hope it was worth it. I stared at that message for a long time, thinking about everything we had built together. The house that never felt like home because I was always trying to keep it perfect for him. The friend group that was really his friend group, where I smiled and nodded and tried not to say anything too controversial. The version of myself that I'd created to fit into his life, even when it meant shrinking parts of who I really was. Yeah, I thought it was worth it. I deleted the message without responding and took my cat for a walk in the little park behind my apartment complex. It was one of those perfect autumn evenings where the air is crisp but not cold, and the leaves are just starting to turn colors. As I was walking, I started thinking about that night in February. The blizzard, the cake, the 9-hour drive that almost killed me. And I realized something that might sound crazy. I was grateful it had happened. Not grateful that my husband had wished me dead, obviously, but grateful that I'd found out who he really was before I'd wasted any more years trying to be someone I wasn't. That cake sitting on our kitchen table, with its happy birthday message and my note about getting everything he wished for, it had been the perfect goodbye. A sweet ending to something that had gone sour without me even realizing it. Update. This is probably my final update, but I wanted to share what happened recently because it shows how much can change in a year. For those asking about closure, and whether I ever heard from him again, well, the universe has a funny way of giving you exactly what you need to hear. Anyone else believe that sometimes the best revenge is just living your best life? A year and a half later, I'm sitting in my own house. Yes, I bought a house, with my energetic orange cat purring on my lap, looking at a photo my mom sent me from her new place in Florida. She's happy there, playing bridge with a group of retired ladies and volunteering at an animal shelter. Last month, I ran into one of our mutual friends at a coffee shop in the city where I used to live. I was there for a work conference, staying at a nice hotel, feeling confident and happy in my new life. Sarah, the friend, looked shocked to see me. We'd been friendly when I was married, but I'd lost touch with most of that crowd after the divorce. "Oh, my gosh, how are you?" she asked, and I could see her taking in my new haircut, the confidence in my posture, the genuine smile on my face. "I'm really good," I told her, and meant it. "Living about 2 hours north now, bought a house, love my job. How's everyone?" She hesitated for a second, then sat down at my table. "Can I ask you something? What really happened with you and him? He tells everyone you just up and left one day, but that never sounded like you." So I told her. The whole story, the blizzard, the cake, what I'd overheard, everything. Her face went through about 6 different expressions as I talked. "Holy crap," she said when I finished. "I mean, I knew things seemed off after you left, but he made it sound like you'd had some kind of breakdown or something." "What do you mean things seemed off?" "Well, he started dating again pretty quickly. Like, maybe 2 months after you filed for divorce, and he's been through 3 different girlfriends since then. Always complaining about how needy they are, how they don't understand him like you did. Karen keeps trying to set him up with her friends, but nothing sticks." I felt a little surge of satisfaction at that, not gonna lie. "And honestly," Sarah continued, "now that I think about it, he did always seem kind of dismissive of you at parties and stuff. Like, when you'd tell a story, he'd roll his eyes or change the subject. I thought it was just normal married couple stuff, but maybe not." After we parted ways, I felt this incredible sense of closure. Not because I was happy he was struggling. I genuinely hoped he'd figure out how to be a better person. But because it confirmed what I'd learned about myself, I deserved better than someone who rolled their eyes at my stories. These days, I'm dating someone new. Met him through the hiking group, and he actually listens when I talk, asks follow-up, questions about my work, remembers the names of my friends, tells me I'm funny when I make jokes instead of acting embarrassed by my sense of humor. We're taking it slow, which feels right. I'm not in any hurry to merge my life with someone else's again. But it's nice to be with someone who likes me for who I actually am, not who they think I should be. My orange cat, Mango, has claimed the best spot on my couch and has strong opinions about which Netflix shows we watch. My house has bright yellow walls in the kitchen and a reading nook by the big window where I drink my morning coffee and watch the birds at my feeder. I never did get closure with my ex-husband. Never got an apology that felt real. Never got him to understand why what he said was so devastating. But I realized I didn't need that from him. The closure came from building a life that made me happy, from remembering who I was before I started trying to be perfect for someone who didn't appreciate it anyway. Sometimes I think about that chocolate cake, sitting on our kitchen table in the dark while I drove away through the snow. It probably sat there for days before he finally threw it out, a sweet reminder of everything he'd taken for granted. But I'm not bitter about it anymore. That cake, that blizzard, that terrible night, it all led me here, to this house, this cat, this life, where I get to be fully myself without apology. And honestly, that's the sweetest ending I could have asked for. If you're reading this and you're in a relationship where you feel like you have to shrink yourself to fit, where your partner rolls their eyes at your stories or makes you feel like you're too much, please know that you deserve better. You deserve someone who celebrates your energy, not someone who wishes you'd dial it down. Life's too short to spend it trying to be smaller than you are. Trust me on that one. The snow is falling outside my window right now, and instead of feeling anxious about driving in it, I'm just enjoying how peaceful it looks. Funny how the same weather that almost killed me that night now just looks beautiful. I guess that's what healing looks like. Being able to find beauty in the things that once hurt you, and gratitude for the experiences that led you home to yourself. Thanks for listening to my story, internet friends. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mango and I have some Netflix shows to argue about.